this is Sir Zam and today we're going to discuss a topic about the cell. This video tutorial is based from your learning activity sheets in General Biology 1, Quarter 1, Week 1. Please bring out your learning activity sheet. Our learning targets for this session are: explain the postulates of the cell theory, describe the structure and function of major and subcellular organelles. Before the lesson, let's have some warm-up question. I have here one question for you to answer. The question is, what do you think are the primary materials used in building these walls? Timer starts now. What do you think is the answer? That's right. The primary materials used are hollow blocks. This lesson has three sections. Section 1, the cell in general perspective. Section 2, the cell theory. And Section 3, the basic parts of the cell. The cell in general perspective. The cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. Structural meaning it gives form, shape, and support to organisms. Functional meaning that an individual cell has specific functions and group of cells also have specific functions. Different cells in the body are specialized to perform various tasks. Muscle cells, for example, are capable of rapid contraction. If they do not function properly, movement would not be possible, just like a man lifting a dumbbell. Nerve cells transmit electrochemical message. If they do not function properly, a person may not be aware of his or her environment or may not be able to respond to changes in his vision, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. Cells are not exclusive to humans. They are also found in plants, animals, and microorganisms. In fact, all life forms are composed of at least one cell. The cell theory. In 1665, an English scientist, Robert Hooke, with the aid of his own invented microscope, was able to examine a variety of objects including the bark of a cork oak tree. As he observed this, he noticed tiny empty compartments like the structures of honeycomb. He gave the Latin name cellulae, meaning small rooms. Thus, the biochemical term cell was coined. Anton van Leeuwenhoek, the Dutch shopkeeper, with his skills in glassworking, devoted much of his time constructing lenses and observing everything he could get hold of, including bacteria gliding in saliva, one-celled organisms in pond water, and even sperm swimming in semen. With his skills and keen observation, he was able to draw and describe the tissues of a variety of living organisms. 2 centuries passed with the aid of improved light microscopes. Scientists were tempted to look once more into the cell. In 1833, Robert Brown, a botanist, reported the presence of a sphere-like structure inside a plant cell and called it a nucleus. About 1839, 2 German scientists worked together in examining the cell thoroughly. Matthias Leiden, a botanist, and Tudor Swan, a zoologist, recognized the basic similarities of plant and animal cells. Thus, in 1839, they proposed the first 2 principles of the cell theory. All organisms are composed of one or more cells, and the cell is the basic living unit of organization for all organisms. Then a decade passed after exhaustive studies into cell reproduction. German physician Rudolf Virchow completed the cell theory with another principle. All cells arise from pre-existing cells, or omnia cellula e cellula. The basic parts of the cell. cell membrane is a double layer of phospholipids. Its function is for protection. It allows cells to maintain its shape and regulates what comes in and goes out of the cell. Nucleus is the center of cellular activity. It is bordered by a porous membrane. It contains thin fibers of DNA and protein called chromatin, and it contains a small round nucleolus which produces ribosomes. Ribosome is a small non-membrane bound organelle. It is the center of protein synthesis. They are either free-floating or attached to the endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum is a complex network of transport channels. There are two types, smooth endoplasmic reticulum and rough endoplasmic reticulum. The smooth is ribosome-free and functions in poison detoxification. The rough contains ribosomes and releases newly made protein from the cell. Golgi body is a series of flattened sacs that modifies, packages, stores, and transports materials out of the cell. Works with the ribosomes and endoplasmic reticulum. Lysosomes are only present in animal cells. It is a membrane-bound organelle containing a hydrolytic digestive enzyme. They digest worn-out organelles and cell debris, play a role in cell death. Mitochondrion is a double-membrane organelle. It is the size of a bacterium. It contains its own DNA. It produces the high-energy compound ATP or adenosine triphosphate. It is called the powerhouse of the cell. Vacuoles are sacs that help in food digestion or helping the cell maintain its water balance, found mostly in plants. Cytoskeleton is the framework of the cell. It is composed of three elements: microtubules, actin filaments, and intermediate filaments. They support the cell, giving its shape and help with the movement of its organelles. Centrosome and centrioles is an organelle serves as the main microtubule organizing center of the animal cell, described as the special organ of cell division. Collections of microtubules, 9 triplets found in pairs. One pair is equal to one centrosome, separate chromosomes. Cell wall. Plant's exostructure surrounding its plasma membrane. It is called the cell wall. Cellulose, chitin, and peptidoglycan are the materials found in these cell walls. Chloroplast is a double membrane organelle. The center section contains stacks of coin-like grana. The grana make up the thylakoid. The grana are surrounded by a gel-like material called the stroma, only found in plants and algae, and conducts photosynthesis. Now let's have some recap. What is the definition of the word cell? The cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. What are the postulates of the cell theory? All organisms are composed of one or more cells. The cell is the basic living unit of organization for all living organisms, and all cells arise from pre-existing cells. What are the basic parts of the cell? Cell membrane, nucleus, ribosome, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, lysosome, mitochondrion, vacuole, cytoskeleton, centrosome, centrioles, cell wall, and chloroplast. At this point, turn your activity sheet to enrichment part. Reminder, do not write anything on this activity sheet. For enrichment activity 1, from the given choices, choose the parts of the cell that match with the underlined parts of the city. Write the letter of the correct answer. For enrichment activity 2, use the Venn diagram below to compare plant and animal cell. In the left side, write down the cell parts that can be found only in plant cells, and in the right side, cell parts that can be found only in animal cells. And at the center, the cell parts that can be found in both plant and animal cell. For enrichment activity number 3, draw both plant and animal cell and label the parts needed. And for the wrap-up activity, just answer the following questions briefly. I hope that you learned something today. If you have questions or clarifications regarding the topic that we have discussed, feel free to contact your subject teacher through text or call, or you may post your questions in your official Facebook group or page. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.